Dog Talk podcast. I'm your host, Ken Doolittle, joined as always by my co-host and resident Packers fan who's getting closer to the second Super Bowl in his lifetime, Michael Burke. We also have a special guest today, more on him in a little bit, but we have a hometown Philly native here to talk about the end of his beloved Eagles season and more. Join us on our picks. We had an interesting wild card weekend. It was I don't know if it was all good, but very interesting from start to finish. We had a decent Saturday, good Sunday. I don't love the Monday football, but it did happen. Burke, are you happy to see your Packers back this week?
I was very happy to not have to sweat through wild card weekend, knowing that they were already going to play in the divisional round. But just to correct your opening statement, this would actually be the third Super Bowl that I would see Green Bay play in since I've been alive.
I apologize. The second in the Rodgers era.
1996, when Favre led them to it. Actually, no, I'm completely wrong. This would be the fourth because they lost the next year to John Elway and the Broncos in '97. Right before Broncos went back-to-back to end Elway's career. But Favre actually took them to back-to-back Super Bowls, and Rodgers obviously in that 2011 Classic against the Steelers. So this would be the fourth one, and I feel really good about their chances.
Well, I apologize. Much like most sane people, I've been trying to write Brett Favre out of my mind ever since he retired, so I'm hoping to forget those Super Bowls.
The first, second,
and I'm sure I'll do the same with Aaron Rodgers in a year and a half when he's in Pittsburgh. Our co-host, or our guest co-host today, Larry Gilman out of Philadelphia, resident Eagles fan. Before we get into the football talk, Kyrie for Ben Simmons. Who says no?
Oh, geez. Gentlemen. I would say hard pass on both. They both
hard pass on both. Well, neither of them can play all games for their existing team, and it seems like they could each play games for their new team.
Yeah, you're getting into a lot of advanced fractions that I'm not great with, like 50% of 25% of the games that he's eligible to play with. It's just not the move we want to go with right now.
All right, fair enough. We'll get into some NBA talk later, but first we got to go over the Super Wild Card Week. I don't know what this rebranding of everything is. It's Super Wild Card Weekend. The Super Bowl is the big game now. We can't just call things what they are. This is Wild Card Weekend. If we want to talk about it. So I want to start today with a little one-word answer game. So I have a couple questions that I'm going to ask. Burke, you go first, then Larry goes second. I want one-word responses to these questions, and then we're going to circle back on some interesting ones and elaborate a little bit. But let's start with a one-word answer to the best team performance from this past weekend. Burke.
Bills.
Larry.
Bills.
Dual answer on the Bills. All right, interesting. Let's go the other direction. Most embarrassing performance this weekend.
Cowboys.
Oof.
Eagles.
Eagles. All right. I think you kind of had to say Eagles on that one. Burke says Cowboys. This is a question I want to come back to for sure. Here's an interesting one. Was Mac Jones good on Saturday?
No.
Kinda?
I'll take kinda. I'll take that answer. Burke with the flat no. Okay. How many teams can win the Super Bowl? How many teams have a shot? Obviously one. Ha ha ha. How many teams have a shot to win the Super Bowl this year?
5.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's high. I'm going 4.
4. All right. We'll come back there. Who wins the most Super Bowls in their career? And this is including ones they already have. Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, or Patrick Mahomes?
Mahomes.
2 Mahomes answers. Interesting. Okay. So we're not jumping on the Allen bandwagon. Okay. Here's 2 bets. I want you to pick one of them for the divisional round. Any non-quarterback to throw a touchdown this weekend at 9-1, or the thick 6. Any lineman to catch a touchdown this weekend at 12-1.
Odell.
All right. Well, you get all of them at 9-1. You don't just have to take Odell. You get every non-quarterback in the league.
It's a one-answer question. So.
All right. Fair enough. He says Odell. Blair, thick 6 or non-QB, or Odell specifically?
Neither.
All right. Good answer.
Thick 6.
That's probably the case. But they're fun. Last couple. Should Cliff Kingsbury be fired?
No.
Interesting.
I know.
Is Jalen Hurts a starting quarterback in the NFL?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, that one holds some weight from Larry. Okay. Best penalty hand motion from the refs. And the reason I bring this up is because we saw the legendary illegal forward pass motion this weekend where I don't know if you guys know what it is, but the ref kind of wipes his butt a little bit, goes behind the back. So I've got some good answers for this one, but what is the best hand signal for a penalty? You got any that come to mind?
No.
One word answer, no. All right. I mean,
like safety.
I was going to say the safety has to be up there. It's kind of
Is
legendary.
Is that technically a penalty though?
Yeah, safety's a penalty. Any call that they make. Sorry, any call.
It's a penalty to the offensive team, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the safety is
the safety's legendary. I like intentional grounding. It's pretty dramatic. The butt wipe illegal forward pass is pretty good. Roughing the passer, you get a lot of aggressive ones. I like that. All right, and here's my hot take. I want a yes or no answer. Should we have referee press conferences after the games?
No.
Yes.
No and yes. Yeah, let's start there. Let's elaborate on a couple of these. I would love to have these referee press conferences after the game because number one, like I don't want to hear Dak Prescott talk about the refs. I want to hear the refs talk about the bad calls that they made. Specifically, we hold everybody in this league accountable for the stuff that they do, except the people that decide these games, right? So, Larry, you said yes. I think this would be a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every person in America should have the right to front their accuser. And in this situation here, we have this circumstance where the refs make calls every single day. We have no chance to ask any questions, get reasoning, thought process. I think it's sinful that we don't have a chance to just to dive into their thought process.
And we never get it. We never get it because they leave the field and we don't hear from them ever again. And that's fine that the crew that officiated the Raiders game, the NFL has said they're not allowed to call any playoff games the rest of this year and probably forever. But I want to hear about that, right? We'll get to that when we get to the game. But Burke, you said no. You don't want to hear this stuff?
No. We all know it was an inadvertent whistle.
The NFL doesn't know that because that's not their stance.
It's part of the game, and they overturn it. They met together, and they overturned the call. It's what it is.
Yeah, but I mean, we want to hear, Matt Stafford talking about Odell Beckham throwing a touchdown, right? Don't we want to hear about the ref from the Cowboys game saying why that end of the game happened the way it did?
No, I see too much of the refs on TV calling penalties anyway. I don't want to see them extra after the game. It really doesn't make a difference for me.
I just think we got to hold them accountable. And I want to hear from them. You know what I mean? Like Kyrie misses a shot at the end of the game. We have to hear from him about him missing a shot. If somebody misses a call at the end of the game, I don't know. I just think we should hear about that. And we're never going to get it. So this is a moot point, but I think that would be super interesting. I forget what you guys said about Mac Jones, but I thought he was pretty good on Saturday. I don't think that was his fault that the Patriots lost. I think that was an offensive clinic from the Bills. That was by all metrics, the greatest offensive game in the history of the NFL by about 45, I think, offensive metrics. I don't think Mac was that bad. He's definitely the guy. Like, is he closer to Brady or is he closer to the worst quarterback in the league? I think he's probably closer to Brady, right? I'm not saying he's Tom Brady. I think he's closer to being that than he is to being like a losing quarterback. What say you? Yes, no?
No, I disagree. I feel Joe Burrow is closer after year one, even though he got hurt, to Brady than Mac Jones is right now. I don't remember anything about Mac Jones from that game because the Bills were so unbelievable. Like that, right. He was such a non-factor because the defense. Actually, that should have been the most embarrassing performance, not being able to force a punt in an entire game. Could have been an answer for number two, but not being able to remember anything that Mac Jones did makes it the point where I don't think he did good because he did nothing memorable. He couldn't keep the team in the game on offense when obviously the defense, he can't play both sides of the ball, but just can't really make an opinion on it.
I guess. Lair, what do you think about Mac?
I mean, I think throughout the year, like everyone asked Mac Jones to not lose the game in many circumstances. And I know that's a bit of a defeatist mentality, but it's kind of the Patriot way, leaning on the run game, not making any mistakes on the offense. And on Saturday, like there was nothing wrong with the performance, Mac Jones. That's why I said kinda. He didn't do anything to fault that, but he couldn't take over that game. I don't think Jesus could have taken over that game, or Tim Tebow, but I think that there was no chance either way, just because that defensive performance and honestly the Bills' offensive performance was just so lights out. But
I mean, I agree. He wasn't going to beat Josh Allen in that game. The Bills clearly came out with that mindset of like, they were just going to kick their ass. And I think Patriots were a valid answer to most embarrassing performance. I don't think the Eagles were as embarrassing as you may think, because I think that was just kind of what we thought would happen. And maybe this is a good segment. Let's start talking about the games from last week. We want to recap them all. Let's start with that Bucs-Eagles game. I think that what happened is exactly what was going to happen the whole time. I think, the Bucs jumped out on them early, and from the first drive of that game, there was really no hope for the Eagles. Jalen Hurts didn't look like a good quarterback in that game, but the team in general just looked outclassed. And I think that's the case, that the Bucs are a very good team, and the Eagles really haven't played well against any winning team all season. They play in that crap division. And I'm not saying they're an awful team. They're the 7th playoff team. But you would know, Larry, a little bit more about the pulse of the town. Are people disappointed about that? Is that kind of what you expected? Like, you had to have some hope, right?
Surprisingly not.
Really?
I mean, I found myself maybe around Thursday or Friday getting that like really sad feeling of thinking that there was actually a possibility that it would be,
you talk yourself into it, right?
A slug to it. Right. You think about it and you're like, oh, this is kind of cute. Like, whatever. But the overall theme just leading up to the game and just on both stations I listened to was just, take the experience for what it is. You're playing Tom Brady. Even before week 18, they were saying like, let's go against Tom Brady, because it's going to give you the best opportunity to really gauge and barometer where the team is actually at. I think what made it the most embarrassing part was the fact that they completely abandoned what got them to that in the first place, even if it was beating up teams. Like, if you break down the possessions, I mean, they had several 3-and-outs to start off, completely abandoned the run game, and that's exactly what Tom Brady wanted to do to them. Come out to an early lead, have them panic. That's what they did. And then next thing you know, it's 31-0, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. So, and I mean, that's what they want to do, is they want to get the run game going. That's a tough order against that Bucs defense. And I know they've been a little less stout against the run recently. Vita Vea has been in and out, and he's kind of the cog of that run defense. But with a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, I would have loved to see him take off a little bit more, because what are you saving it for at this point, right?
Right.
Do the Eagles believe that Jalen Hurts is that guy coming back next year? Like, do they want that kind of quarterback, or do they want a Mac Jones who is more of a quarterback? Would they use him any differently?
No, I think that the pulse is generally Jalen Hurts is okay this year. It was a lot of an upgrade from Carson Wentz as far as the availability outside the pocket. And I think that more of the holes that they were pointing to on offense, particularly, has always been the receiving core. Jalen Reagor, for some reason, continues to find himself in football games, for whether it be the punt returning game, which totally set things off, or the drop passes. Like, you have Devontae Smith for a reason, but I think having that mobile quarterback is the future of the NFL in general.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. And, I don't particularly care for Aikman at this point, but when he notices something, it's incredibly apparent. And right around halftime, he was adamant that Devontae Smith had 0 targets. And I think that he didn't have any targets in the first half. I'm looking now, he finishes with 4 catches for 60. I think they were all once the game was decided already. How does that guy not get targets?
Yeah, I mean, just as far as that goes, he was just simply off on an island. It wasn't a matter of the fact that they had any corners on him, because frankly, I couldn't name one Tampa Bay cornerback. And
Richard
it
Sherman.
Was great.
I don't even know if he played, but yeah,
Great,
I know, right?
That's
who we're talking about, is 100-year-old Richard Sherman, who probably can't keep up with me right now in a foot race. And Devontae Smith has 4 catches, probably on 4 or 5 targets.
Garbage time.
And none, exactly. And none when the game was still able to be decided. And then on the other end of things, the game we'll get to next, you have a Bengals team that's not all that good, but they find a way to get their best player, Jamar Chase, double-digit targets every game. And that's the way to do it, right? That's how you were going to beat the Bucs. You're clearly outmatched, but they ran the ball 17 times. I just looked it up. Like, that's not going to get it done for them. So do you want Hurts to come back next year? Or do you want him to be the starter next year?
It really depends on what's available. I consider Jalen Hurts to be in the top half of quarterbacks out there. I would rather see something like Russell Wilson. I saw an interesting stat that they were talking about Russell Wilson, and basically his numbers this year in a slump year would have been better than all but 3 seasons that an Eagles quarterback has put up in the past 25 years.
Really?
So he would have ranked 4th all time with his garbage year this year.
Wow.
Which I cherry picked that stat from somebody else. Sorry, but
I like it.
That's Jalen Hurts didn't even come close to the charts there. He was exciting, yes. He had a lot of garbage time performance, and was it a lot of competitive performance? I don't believe so. So
he was a great fantasy quarterback. I'll tell you that. He got over 20 points a game, and I think they were all. He got used to get like 13 in the 4th quarter. He'd have a rushing touchdown. He'd have 80 yards or something. So he's a great player. And it seems to me, and you tell me, Philly is not a easy fan base on their stars.
No.
They haven't really totally let him go, have they? Like, I don't feel like he's getting the same shit that, another quarterback might get in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're as hard on him as, say, like Carson Wentz. I think he says a lot of the right things, and you want that from your quarterback, but at the same time, you have to challenge him and push him in that direction. And I just feel like this season as a whole was not enough of a sample size. There was too many games where when he had to step up, there wasn't enough opportunity for him to step up and really show what he's made of. They either blew people out or ran the ball down people's throats. And it was really no prove it for him.
So one word answer, then again, we'll go back to this. Successful season for the Eagles? Yes, no?
Absolutely.
Playoffs is good? Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, if they had lost to any non-Bucks team, is that a different story? Would you have expected them to beat any NFC playoff team? Probably not, right?
Nah, I mean Cowboys maybe.
Like the Cowboys, just
seeing how they showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and knowing that McCarthy will find a way to lose every time.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about him. How about the other end of the ball, Burke? You saw the Bucks perform just as we expected them to perform. They look great.
Yeah, I mean their playoff experience with Brady, obviously they came out of the gates flying.
Does Brady have playoff experience? I don't know.
I think he's got a little bit from what I've been told.
Okay.
But I think I agree with Larry here that the Eagles, for sure, this should be considered a successful season. Let's remember your quarterback is in year 2, your first full year with fans in the stands without COVID issues. Your number 1 wide receiver was a rookie. You had a rookie head coach. They made rookie mistakes in the playoffs, but they got to the playoffs in year 1 with this crew. I don't know how you abandon that core. Rager's a different story. I think they go out and try and draft another wide receiver that can complement Smith. But what the Bucks did, they went after, and even though they probably have no superstars on that you can name in the secondary, but they game planned and were smart enough to take away their number 1 option at the pass game while also monitoring the run, which is why the inexperience of the Eagles with this cast in the playoffs, they were out to a slow start and completely outmatched. I still think it's a successful season. You ran into a buzzsaw with the defending Super Bowl champs who have been there before. That coaching staff is experienced. They knew how to take away their strengths. I would stick with Hurts. I would not go after another QB. Hurts and Minshew should be the way to go. I'd start to put some pieces together and gather some help for Devontae Smith, because he's obviously your best outside threat. I think your running back core is great. It's deep. Yeah. It's experienced. They can catch the ball. And it's going to take some time. And I expect them to be contenders, for at least for the next couple of years, for sure.
Yeah,
without having to go out and get a Russell Wilson or something like that.
Maybe take over. Maybe the Eagles can trade for somebody like DK Metcalf or Justin Jefferson. Wait, they could have drafted them. Moving on to the next game. One of the more interesting games of the weekend. I thought this would be the most competitive game of the weekend, and it probably was, outside of maybe the Cowboys-Niners game. Raiders-Bengals. Obviously, a lot to talk about here. I thought the Raiders really showed up. They played well. Given all of the nonsense that they have been through this year, really none of it their fault as far as the players that are on the field. They went through a lot, and they made the playoffs. Kudos to them for winning that Week 18 game. And the Bengals really played well all year as well. So these two teams definitely both deserve to be there. I was on the Raiders all week. I was on the Raiders end of this, catching 6, even when it was 5.5. If it ever got to 7, I was going to, hammer it. I got it at live at 10, at 14 when they went down early, just because I thought they would come back, and neither side has playoff experience. And that's basically how it played out. But unfortunately, what we have to talk about is the inadvertent touchdown. I'm not even calling it an inadvertent whistle. It is a touchdown that 100% should not have counted. Did not count by the letter of the law because a whistle was blown. And to me, it looked like the defenders in the back of the end zone kind of stopped playing because they heard a whistle. And the NFL comes out after and says the whistle happened after the play, which is factually untrue. If you go back and listen to that, you can hear the whistle that says Burrow stepped out of bounds. And he didn't step out of bounds. I mean, the call was right, but the whistle was made. And I found it interesting during the game. Somebody that I follow tweeted out, they quoted the NFL saying that they weren't going to make a statement on this till after the game. And the guy quoted it and said, well, here's the NFL hoping the Bengals don't win by exactly 7 points. And guess what happened? The Bengals won by exactly 7 points. If you take that touchdown off the board and maybe they kick a field goal, the Raiders are now on the goal line at the end of the game, trying to either tie the game with a field goal and Carlson doesn't miss, or they win with a touchdown. I know we don't want to talk about the refs too much, but this seems like a big deal to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, by the rule book, when a whistle is blown, the play is automatically dead. Automatically dead.
Correct.
I've never seen an instance where it's blown that late. Typically, refs are trained to let it play out before blowing something dead, unless it's a surefire like offsides penalty or something like that. But you let the play go. You let it roll out, and then you can go back.
Not if he's out of bounds, though. If he's out of bounds,
yeah, but you can go back and review it later.
Right, but I understand what you're saying, but I guess there's a lot to unpack here. Number one, they blew a whistle, wrong. Number two, they thought he was out of bounds, wrong. Number three, they let the touchdown happen, also wrong. Larry, what am I missing here? This shouldn't have counted.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it was you're trained to, at the whistle, stop, and that is exactly what 50% of the Raiders players did.
Sure.
And that is what everyone except for Joe Burrow and the receiver did in that situation. Yeah, I think of the situation where the roles are reversed, and if you're just going off of momentum and pursuit and you accidentally hit a quarterback, that's a game-changing play. And
sure,
this was a game-changing play as well, which resulted in a touchdown that never ever should have happened.
Correct.
And I just find it sinful for a lot of reasons, but also for your Raiders reasons as well.
Well, and that's the thing right now. There's no saying that the Bengals might not have scored anyway. Maybe that whistle doesn't blow, and it was Higgins, I think, caught the touchdown. Maybe he catches it anyway. Maybe they score on the next play. I don't even remember what down it was. But the point being, that play specifically should not have counted. And now not only is the balance of the game in question, but you have millions of dollars from people wagering on these. And I know, boohoo for us, betting on sports. But still, like, that's got to be somewhat important to the NFL, and they can't have this happen. But Burke doesn't ever want to hear the refs have to own up to it or talk about it, I guess. So we don't have to talk about it either. But that shouldn't have been the case. We want to talk about if Mac Jones was any good on Saturday. I don't think Joe Burrow was all that good on Saturday. He looked off every drive after the first one. He's lucky that he has a receiver as good as Chase, and they have a great connection. I don't want to tip my hat and spoil my picks. I don't love how the Bengals looked last week. I think we're catching some value last week. Real quick, one sentence or less. Burke, Joe Burrow, how'd he play?
Average.
Larry, how was Joe Burrow this weekend? Forgettable. I like it.
Plain and simple.
He wasn't as great as maybe Drew Brees and Mike Tirico wanted to make him in that broadcast. I don't want to harp on this again.
Go there. They're both nice guys.
I'm sure they're great guys. I'm sure they would love to come on this podcast. They didn't say a thing about that whistle until it was a commercial break that occurred. And then they came back and say, like, oh, I don't think this touchdown should have counted. I'm like, no shit.
They probably didn't know the rule, just like the rest of America at the time, until somebody had to explain it to them.
I know the rule. When a whistle blows, the play's dead. How does Drew Brees not know that rule? You know what I mean? Like, we've been spoiled by Romo, I think, because he does know the rules, and he's very good and charismatic, and Drew Brees just did not know the rule in that situation, or did not. He's a company man, we'll put it that way. I don't think he wanted to talk about it much more. Hey, a game that was not decided by the refs, the night game on Saturday, Bills-Patriots. We already touched on this one a lot, but something that Burke and I brought up last week that came to fruition. Cold weather does not equal under. This game flew over the total, and the Bills almost hit it by themselves. It was 44. Did the Bills score 44? They
Bills finished
45?
with 47 or 50.
47,
yeah, something like that. Yeah, so they hit the total by themselves. Anything else we want to hit on this one, Burke? Because I think we already kind of nailed this one. Bills look great, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can't ask for more. 7 drives, 7 touchdowns, or whatever it was. Just impeccable offensive onslaught by the Bills. I thought Josh Allen played a fantastic game. They had a great game plan. Defense showed up, made some big plays. Who was it? Micah Hyde that picked off Mac Jones late in the first quarter when they were driving on that long pass that could have easily tied the game up at 7. That really just swung the momentum. I don't think the Pats stood a chance right after that. This is just years of aggression building up after just the Patriots manhandled that division for years, and they just let it all go on one night, and it was an incredible performance. And one of my picks for who can win a Super Bowl this year.
Oh, for sure. The Bills is definitely a team that can win. And I think, right after it was 7-0, and then especially after it was 14-0, when Allen threw that beautiful frozen rope pass down the middle to Dawson Knox. Good job by you, Burke, picking Knox for first touchdown on Saturday, by the way. But I know, Larry, you and I were texting at 14-0 that this game was over. It was going to be 35-0 is, I think, the score we threw out there. It wasn't that, but it sure was close.
Yeah, just got way out of hand quickly, and like you said, can't fault perfection. 7 drives, 7 touchdowns, it's over.
Yeah, great performance by the Bills. I'm sure we're going to chat about them when we talk about the divisional round coming up. Let's get to one of the most interesting games of the weekend. Cowboys, Niners, another one that ended with mass confusion. All I have in the agenda is WTF ? Because there was many layers to this game, but I think the most important one was we saw the total incompetence of 2 coaches that are, for lack of a better word, incompetent. And Mike McCarthy came out on top as the more incompetent coach over Kyle Shanahan. Shanahan has a little bit of a resume. I know McCarthy does too, because he won a Super Bowl, but I'm starting to think that Rodgers winning a Super Bowl with McCarthy is the most impressive thing I have ever seen, because this guy continually screws up clock management, end of game scenarios, and everything else that you could think of. Shanahan too, but really McCarthy was probably the reason that they lost this game.
No, I actually don't agree that one play is not going to define the game. What the problem was they got penalized 14 times in the game.
That's on McCarthy, isn't it?
It's on the entire coaching staff. It's not McCarthy. It's an embarrassment. You can't be that undisciplined and expect to win a game, even though they had a chance at the very end. Let alone forget that play call, but you cannot get penalized 14 times in a game and expect to win. It's like making errors in baseball. You have 3-4 errors.
You're putting yourself in a hole.
You're not going to win. You're putting yourself in an unnecessary hole. They dug themselves into a hole against the Niners. Debo was rocking and rolling. Kittle, somehow that was a terrible pick on our end.
That was a bad bet by us.
He just was non-existent, which shocked all of us. But you cannot get penalized the way the Cowboys did and expect to win.
Well, it's bookended by just egregious decisions, because I think it was the very first play of the game. The Cowboys were lined up in the neutral zone offsides. They get a penalty on the first play of the game. And then the last play of the game, they run a quarterback sneak where, I've compared this with you to the basketball 2-for-1 when you're trying to score 2 buckets at the end of a quarter. You need 31, 32 seconds to do that. If you have 26, it's not going to work. It is simple looking at the clock and doing some math. Yet they seem to run this play without enough time left. How does Kellen Moore not know what he's doing?
It's really unbelievable. And the fact was that the resounding defense of the strategy was just unreal after the fact. I know you can't throw your team under the bus, but own the fact that it was the wrong call. And I'm glad they didn't blame the ref in this, where the ref did kind of get in the way.
Well, it's pretty symbolic.
I'm actually going to defend the Cowboys here. Because
I will too, but hold on. I want to hear it out what Larry has to say about that. But also, it is kind of symbolic that the ref physically got in the way of the ending of the game, isn't it?
I mean, I I don't hate the strategy in practice. I like that it was something fresh versus the normal Hail Mary that you see that works 1 out of 50,000 times or whatever the odds are. I'm sure it's a lot less than that, but
Sure.
it was
But
something
you're taking a
spicy.
Hail Mary either way, right? Either you're at the 40 or you're at the 28,
25.
and you're
Yeah.
throwing a touchdown pass to the end zone either way. I think, and Burke, I know you said you don't want to blame the refs for that. It's not the ref. That's Dak's fault, because apparently he didn't know the rule where he or the center spotted their own ball. And thank God that we had Romo on this call and not Drew Brees, because Romo immediately was like, "Oh, the umpire has to touch the ball. He has to spot the ball," and he's telling us what's going on. It's Dak's.
I read a tweet from the Packers after that game. I forget who it was. It was a former player, but he had mentioned after that situation occurred that Green Bay, when whoever it was, when it was his time there, they would actually be taught to hand the ball directly to the ref after a play like that, instead of trying to set it down themselves, knowing that they have to set the ball for it to go. Right. And the coaching for that situation is, do not let a referee dictate how your season unfolds. And Dak and the center, just again, undisciplined. That's a coaching error completely, not having them aware and being ready for that sort of happenstance.
Exactly.
But you got to know the rules, and that goes back to being penalized so many times, just out of position, and just not being able to give your team a chance to win when they should have won that game, no problem. No problem.
I think that if the Niners had lost that game after the way it started, it would have been much more devastating for them, considering they were up 23-7, basically dominating on both ends of the game and special teams for 3.5 quarters. But for the Cowboys to lose that fashion, it's what the Cowboys are. It's what they do. And if you're Dak in that situation, like, I don't totally hate the sneak call, but then why is Dak running for 15? Why isn't he running for 9 and then sliding down with 12 seconds left just to make sure? Like, do you need another 5 yards? You're probably running the same play either way. That's on Kellen Moore. That's on Dak. That's on Mike McCarthy. And I don't know if I know I was kind of throwing this out there, but the Niners really, and Shanahan got away with one again, because the last 5 game minutes of that game, Shanahan did everything in his power, whether it be punting on 4th and 1 from midfield, having a false start on a 4th and inches where Garoppolo just has to sneak, and he sends his lineman in motion, who's probably never went in motion in his life, and he just can't get set up again. So, Larry, I know you and I are not Kyle Shanahan supporters by any means. This did nothing to improve our cause.
No, it didn't, and it's a shame, really, because I think Jimmy Garoppolo is an okay quarterback.
Sure.
We talk a lot about not making mistakes. He doesn't make a ton of them, but man, that motion play on 4th and inches was just unbelievable, and Trent Williams just not setting completely.
All you got to do is stand still, and Jimmy reaches out 6 inches, right? And the game is sealed, and he's sending motion. It's unnecessary. I don't understand it. So the Niners squeak out of there. We'll see how they do next week. I'm sure Burke will have some input on that against his Packers. Chiefs Steelers. Do we even need to talk about this one? Did we expect anything different? Kelsey threw a touchdown pass. That's kind of cool. I don't know why they burned that, though, in that blowout game. They should have saved it. Any thoughts on this, Burke? It was they are who we thought they were, right?
Absolutely. I mean, they came out hot. Well, actually, neither team came out hot. The first quarter under somehow hits.
First quarter under, baby.
I was going to plug that for you guys if you did it.
Under 10. They didn't score a single point.
Yeah, but
maybe they did a touch. No, I don't think they scored at all. Was it 7 or 0? I don't know. Whatever. It went under 10.
It was zeros. It was 0-0 after the first. And then the Chiefs doing Chiefs things and started to get on a roll. Getting their playmakers the ball. Obviously, the Steelers' offense was just outmatched. It was tough sledding for Big Ben in probably his last game of his career. But congrats to him on a Hall of Fame career. Stuck it out with the same organization, dealt with Antonio Brown longer than anybody. Obviously, that's more of a feat than we should give him more credit for in dealing with that situation. But Chiefs rolled 12.5 was obviously actually Big Ben in there during his press conference early in the week said the line was 20 and they finished at 21. So he knew something that Vegas did not, and hopefully everybody profited on that.
Well, I'm telling you, that's because he had his team plus 21.5. I think he was driving late to get like that backdoor cover somehow. So that was somewhat exciting. But from Philadelphia to the other end of the state, you got Big Ben over there for, feels like 100 years, and Philly hasn't had that quarterback really since McNabb, probably, right? So
Yeah.
how's that sitting with you?
I mean, there's no hate going on to the Steelers. There's no real rivalry the same way that you have with any NFC East opponent, which is good. I mean, good for Ben. I mean, don't care for him much as a person. I don't know him that well, but just what the media says. I wish he would just say that he's retiring right now because I got a very Farvish feeling about him, Burke, and a little nervous
Hey, you
that
never know.
he'll wind up a Jet or a Jaguar or something.
Big Ben's been too beaten up in his career. I don't think he could come back even if he tried.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried that he's not going to be able to walk by 2025 because he's gotten his ass kicked so hard. But
yeah, I mean, he was the guy. He kind of set the standard for blowing off hits, right? Like 10 years ago, he would get hit, and the defenders, these big linemen, would just bounce off him, and he would push them with his stiff arm. And he was awesome to watch. You think of 500-yard passing games, Ben has to be the one that comes to mind. And it was. I was looking this up the other week with my brother-in-law. I forget that he threw for 500 in last year's playoffs against the Bengals.
That's
in that
right.
like garbage time game that they were down 28-0 or something.
The Browns came out and just smoked them.
They're the Browns, not the Bengals. Yeah, the Browns came out and destroyed them, and then Ben threw for 500 yards in that game, and they almost come back if they didn't punt from midfield on a 4th and 2 again. But yeah, I mean, kudos to Ben. Good career. Not the best game, but that's what we expected. Now the game I've been itching to talk about this whole podcast. My Rams against the Cardinals. This was a good old school ass whooping from the very first second of the game. Cliff Kingsbury has no idea what he's doing. Back to our initial one-word answers. Absolutely, Cliff Kingsbury should be fired. He said hours before the game, this was going to be Kyler Murray's best game of his pro career. Let's hope that's not true. Kyler looked totally incompetent, like a college quarterback on an NFL field. Cliff did nothing to help him. And, what I've been saying all year, the Cardinals are throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. And the only reason they win games is because Kyler is actually a good quarterback, and he makes some of that shit stick. He threw, they did not establish the run. I see you calling timeout. Let me get my Rams memorabilia out there.
Go ahead.
They did not try to establish the run until they were down 28-0, which is not the time to establish the run. James Conner, anytime touchdown at plus 130 still pays, even in a game where they were terrible offensively. Sean McVay called a good game. Stafford looked great. Beckham looked fantastic. And if they can use him as a true number 2 behind Cooper Kupp, that offense is going to be on fire. More importantly, they did run the ball well. I like what I'm seeing out of them. You don't support all this Cliff hate that I'm talking about, huh?
No, because the Cardinals were a completely different team once DeAndre Hopkins got hurt.
That's true.
He is a top 5 receiver in the game. And when you take that out of your offense and your now number 1 wide receiver is AJ Green, who is 12, 13 years in the league, you got a problem. You got a significant deficiency in defenses, and credit the Rams. You zero in and make Kyler uncomfortable. Again, first career playoff start, just like Cliff Kingsbury, first career coaching in NFL playoffs. They got exposed by a very, very good defensive team. That's the Rams. And McVay's been in that situation before. He's been to a Super Bowl. He knows how to call games. He knows how to get his playmakers the ball. He's got a better quarterback than he's had since his time starting and coaching with the Rams, with Stafford, who they are a problem. But I'm not completely selling out and just throwing Cliff and Kyler to the can. They were missing their top offensive threat by a mile, and that completely changes your game plan when you're trying to go win games, especially in the playoffs when you're facing the best teams in the league.
Well, it definitely does, but I think it says that you have a bigger problem. Like a wide receiver, not even Devontae Adams is worth the team going from 8-2 to, whatever they finished, 10-7, or losing almost all of their last games because they're missing one wideout and then getting smoked in the playoffs. I get it that the offense is totally different with Hopkins, but like this is 2 years in a row now where they have started 7-0. Kyler's in the MVP discussion, and then they just literally fall off a cliff. They look like one of the worst teams in the league. And I think that speaks to the coaching a little bit. Where do we land on Kyler in terms of like, he could probably be the guy moving forward. Does he need to part ways from Cliff, Blair?
I mean, I definitely think Kyler is a great quarterback. And I think we've talked about this before. The loss of DeAndre Hopkins was huge. You nailed it on the head, throwing shit against the wall, seeing what sticks. DeAndre Hopkins is the literal biggest wall in the world of throwing at. Like, he will do whatever to get that football.
Sure, he makes a lot of that look better.
In the same breath, you kind of see situations like this. It reminds me a lot of like Lamar Jackson down in Baltimore. I know they're both running quarterbacks, just not putting the tools around this person in order to succeed. It just goes to show that there's a lot more to this. But Cliff Kingsbury did not call the game that Kyler Murray needed to happen. There was no creativity, like you said, complete abandonment of the run game, and the game really wasn't out of hand until mid third quarter. We're to the point where you're just going to trash the run game and stop trying to do any kind of weird gadget plays that he brings out for whatever reason.
Yeah,
he just does a lot of very strange, puzzling things.
Well, and speaking to that, something puzzling right before halftime. The Rams have their first bad offensive possession of the game. They go 3 and out. They get a penalty. They decide to run on 2nd and 20. They basically give up. Cliff gets the ball back with, like 35 seconds left, 3 timeouts.
Draw.
And they run a draw. He's content to take this game to halftime. Like, bro, go get a field goal or something. It's only, I think, 21-0 at this time. Like, the game has felt very lopsided. But if you can take that 21-0 and turn it into 21-7 or 21-3, that's a whole different atmosphere than you giving up at halftime. And at that point, we both wrote it off and we said they're done trying in this game apparently. And then he goes for 2 because he's apparently got some live spread going on with no math behind it at all. I'm not a big Cliff guy, but I do think they were just kind of outmatched in this game. I think the Rams are legit. There was no way the Cards were going to win this game. There was a lot of buzz on them as far as being a hot dog, a live dog this week. But I just didn't see it. So we've kind of weeded out the bad teams at this point, right? And we move into the divisional round, which is the best weekend of NFL football all year. This is our last week with more than 2 games because we'll have only 4 teams left after this week, and then we'll have the dreaded week off before the Super Bowl. So we have some good games. Every team remaining has their strengths and weaknesses. Let's talk about this first one. Bengals at Titans. This line opened at Titans -3, is now up to Titans -3.5. I've seen it fluctuate. I love the Titans in this spot. Like I said, the Bengals didn't look so hot last week. You've got a rested team in Tennessee. I think that they're good. I think that they're better than people give them credit for. They are the 1 seed in the AFC. That's not unimpressive. They beat the Bills this year. They beat the Chiefs this year. What else do you want them to do? I think a line of -3 at home is just disrespectful. Larry, you were a Titans fan at one point in time. They're going to win this game, right?
They've gotta. I think the Titans' hopes are very much alive, and like you hit it right on the head. There's just no respect factor there. Beating the Bills, beating the Chiefs, the Bengals just completely almost getting outmatched by the Raiders in their home field is just it's not a good sign for things to come there. I think with having Derrick Henry back too, I don't think he's going to play every snap, but I think he's going to get 15 carries, really help dictate that, get really physical with the Bengals, and I just don't think Burrow's going to be able to get in any kind of rhythm, just like he couldn't last week.
Yeah, and I agree. I think, when A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, and Derrick Henry are all out there, it hasn't been for many snaps this year, but their yards per play literally doubles. It goes from like 5 to 10 when all 3 of those guys are out there. I know those are 3 big names, so obviously they get better. There's a pretty good chance King Henry plays in this game. I'm not saying it's 100%, but probably greater than 50% that he plays, at least for a little bit. And the Bengals are kind of putrid against stopping the run. So even if anybody's out there, I think Henry has a shot to take this game over. Burke, is the Titans your Super Bowl pick?
No.
Okay.
They're actually not even one of the top 5 that I think can win it.
Wow. Are you on the Bengals in this one?
I'm not. I'm on the Titans here. I think I'm looking at the under as well. I think it's going to be a low.
Yeah, I like the under
game.
too.
I think the Titans are going to be able to run the football, control the clock. I think the defense is going to be good enough to keep Jamar Chase in check. It's going to be a tough sledding first road playoff game for Joe Burrow. And obviously we're putting a lot on them not looking super fantastic and wowing us off the page against the Raiders. I do like the Titans to cover this 3.5. It's probably going to float up to 4 or 5, I would say. But I do like the under as well.
I like the under. It's at 47. I actually think this line's going to go the other way.
I love the under at 47.
I like the under at 47 as well. I think we're both there. I think this line goes the other way, though. I think if you like the Titans, you can wait a little bit and get them at 3. There's going to be significant public backing of the Bengals in this spot, because a lot of people probably think that Joe Burrow played a good game last week because of the numbers and the final result, when in reality he didn't. And I don't think anybody really wants to bet on the Titans. So we're going to see some public money. I think if you want the Titans, you can get this at 3. We're all pretty much in agreement there that the Titans is the pick here. You on board with the under, Larry? You have any over concerns here? It can't get past 47, right?
I can't imagine in any situation that coming close to 47 points.
Yeah,
they just
I don't
generate that kind of power on offense, either team.
I see this as like a 21-14 kind of game, maybe 24-10, something in the 30s, maybe.
We might see a teenager win this game. We might see a 17-7 game.
Maybe.
Never
Maybe
know.
you do.
I think this is a 10-point game as well in the Titans' favor.
I think so too. All right, so we're all in agreement there. The next game, 49ers could not have drawn a worse time slot in Green Bay, 0 degrees, Saturday night. And I know the schedule had to work out this way because of, the Rams had to play Sunday. But man, this is brutal. It opened at Packers -4. It's up to Packers -6. I want to back the Niners in this so bad, but the reason this line is jumping is because Jimmy G has a little hurt shoulder. He's going to play, but his injury is a little more prevalent than maybe we thought on Monday. So that's why this has jumped to 6. Does it matter? We'll start with Larry, and then we'll let the Packers fan close it out. Does it matter where this line is? Can you be talked into the Niners? Would you just take the money line?
I don't think in any situation you could consider the Niners in this, with Jimmy G being up in the air, even if at full strength. Aaron Rodgers and Lambeau, not even Matt LaFleur can screw this up again. Sorry, Burke. But I think at this point here, 6 is generous. I wouldn't be surprised to see that go another point in the other direction. I know 7's that magic number you guys are always looking at, but I would be very surprised if there's any sort of traction moving anything in the Niners' favor on this.
Well, 6 is a key number too, right? So I like it. That's why I like it at the 6. And we're talking about Matt LaFleur screwing it up. That would be, I saw something online 2 seasons in a row where the Packers have caused chaos by Aaron Rodgers not getting a shot. So take that. Heyo. Burke, what do you think about this one? This is your team, right? They're covering the 6.
This is going to be a revenge game from 2019 when they lost to the Niners in the NFC Championship game. The Packers are getting healthy at the right time. Bakhtiari is going to be starting. I know he started Week 18 against the Lions, but he'll be a full go. I know he was on a limited snap count then, but he's healthy. I believe Jair Alexander, their top defensive back, he's coming back as well.
He is.
And Zadarius Smith, excuse me. They're one of their top linebackers. He should be back as well. They're going to have a full arsenal while the Niners are kind of floating in the wrong direction on the injury bug. Bosa still has to clear concussion protocols, even though it looks like he is going to play. But he still has to go through that and make sure he's 100%. I just think the Packers are the better team here. They've been the most consistent team all year from start to finish. Their defense is underrated, in my opinion. They do give up points, but they turn the ball over, and they got some superstars that may not be household names, but I expect them to become household names in this postseason.
Yeah, they're a good team, and these teams did play earlier in the season. It was a Sunday night thriller. The Niners were actually up 1 in the final minute of that game. Rodgers drove them down for, I think, a field goal to win the game. So it was competitive.
51-yarder from Crosby.
Yeah, different rosters, though. I don't even think Debo played in that game. I've seen that today, so you can't really use a lot from that. It was months ago as well.
A lot of the Packs key guys, I don't think they played either.
It's totally different rosters. It's really not comparable. I'm going to zag where everybody's zigging here. At 6, I'm going to take the Niners because on paper, if you give me a healthy Jimmy G, and I know that might be asking a lot, but if you give me his shoulder being okay, they're going to cover this 6 points. I don't know who's going to win the game. It's probably going to be the Packers. And I know I'm doing the stupid thing. It's in Lambeau. Aaron Rodgers is on 2 weeks rest. The guy's a wizard in the playoffs. Devontae Adams, unreal, right? The defense is good enough. I cannot get out of my head what we just saw this weekend as far as these coaches and these bad decisions. And I know Shanahan's going to make some, and I know LaFleur is going to make some. And it's time we start giving him credit because he's one of the most winningest coaches in history, right, of his first couple of years. But I saw him kick a field goal last year to Tom Brady like Larry, you texted me this earlier, assuming Tom Brady's not going to get 10 more yards. And I saw that happen at home, right? They were home for that game last year.
Yep.
Right? Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
It's something's going to happen again that this 6-point spread.
That didn't lose them the game.
Well,
Kevin King's botched coverage at the end of the first half lost them the game.
Well, sure, that too.
I'm surprised he's still on the roster. I'm sick.
I know
he's
awful.
I really am.
But that's what I remember is the end of that game. I just saw the Niners play a great half against the Cowboys, and I think they can do it again against the Niners or against the Packers. Maybe it's just me betting with my heart, which is incorrect because I don't want the Packers to win. I'm taking the Niners +6. If it goes lower than that, I'm not touching it. At 6, let's go Niners. Jimmy G, baby.
Pac's defense has been better in this year than it has been in recent years. I don't think this game is close. The Lambeau is going to go. But I do want to touch base. I did make a futures pick on this upcoming game for the Super Bowl. So we're going to preface that start.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I can't wait to hear what Aaron Rodgers has to say with Pat McAfee about this game next week. I know everybody's waiting on the edge of their seat for that.
Oh, he was on he was on this week, I think today or yesterday. He's on every Tuesday with McAfee.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, that should have been our first sign about him, that he talks to Pat McAfee for an hour every week and has a cute little venting session. But I digress. Next game, Rams at Bucks, maybe the game of the weekend, if not for the last game of the weekend here. You have Bucks -3, opened at Bucks -2.5. That feels a little disrespectful to Tom Brady, too, giving him less than a field goal at home. My Rams look great. You know where my alliance leads in this one. I stand to profit a lot of money if the Rams win the Super Bowl. I know Burke's been teasing us all episode with his Super Bowl pick. So let's start with Larry on this one. Am I crazy to say that the Rams can win this game?
No, I don't think you're crazy. I think both sides have really big problems, especially in their secondary right now. We've seen it with both sides, just letting up some bigger passing yard situations that you wouldn't expect out of them. I think it's going to be a very high scoring game. I think that another big aspect will probably come down to, and I know we hate saying it, the referees. Sean McVay had to use all of his challenges before the second quarter. I just think he has bad luck when it comes to the refs, and that scares me for you, man.
And they were all on play clock too.
Yeah.
Play clock.
It was ridiculous. They took
Unreal.
a combined 45 minutes of deliberation to figure out. It was insane. But I digress on that aspect. I do think that the Rams absolutely have a shot, though.
I do think they have a shot. I'm not counting them out. I've got to do some math to see if it makes sense to hedge my bets already yet. Burke, tell me you're on the Rams on this side. Don't be going against me taking the Bucks.
So my futures pick for
he's
all
going
those
against me, isn't
waiting to see. I actually took a Cam Akers prop to win Super Bowl MVP at plus 30,000. This is
big
a tip.
Guy.
This is a tip from my Lehigh boys. We're all going in on it together. $10 bet to cash out $3,000. So if the Packers don't win, my betting interest will be on the Rams getting there and Cam Akers having a monster Super Bowl and getting me some dough.
Look at this guy. All right, I like it. So our views are aligned.
But this will be the second best game of the weekend, in my opinion, of the 4. It's going to be close until somebody figures out Brady and the Bucks. It's going to be very, very difficult for me to go against them.
I understand. It's hard to bet against them. And, if I wasn't on the Rams already, I probably would be betting on the Bucks in this case, laying only 3. But I'm going to stick with the Rams. I think this is going to be a great game. I love this Sunday slate. The Sunday games are phenomenal. And we're going to close it out with probably the showcase game of the weekend, the 2 best teams in the AFC, maybe 2 of the best in the league. Bills at Chiefs, opened Chiefs -2.5. So the same line we saw earlier in the season when the Bills won by a bunch in Kansas City, down to Chiefs -1.5. I have not landed on either side of this line yet. I also have some futures money on the Bills, so I guess that's where my alliance is. Burke, where are we at here? Allen Mahomes, shouldn't we just sit back and enjoy this one?
Yes and no. It's going to be a fantastic game. This is my high-profile game of the week. I think there's going to be some sort of revenge factor here with the Bills losing in the AFC Championship game last year at Kansas City. I think they're going to really find a way to dig deep and I think the Bills win this game outright.
Wow, I don't hate it. I don't hate it on the money line. And it's Sunday night too, so hopefully, are we going to get Collinsworth and Michaels on this? Maybe we get a little slide action from Collinsworth.
Yes, I think this is the NBC
I would love
night
it.
game.
Oh, I would love it. And we've been high on the Bills and Josh Allen all season, but it's hard to bet against Mahomes, right? I mean, this game is going to be high flying. The total's 54.5, which is crazy. You think we get there? Who wins this game?
I think we got to be at the Chiefs at this point here. Andy Reid loves getting to championship games. We saw that with the Eagles first and foremost. Fortunately,
Yes.
he was able to come together with the Chiefs. I would love to say the Bills just because I love Josh Allen. I love what they're doing there. I just think the Chiefs have so much adversity this year as far as injuries go. They're trying to put it together and they want to kind of show what they're made of. And I think it's going to be a total Mahomes fest. Also, real quick to go back on the last segment, the last running back to win Super Bowl MVP was Terrell Davis. That's crazy.
Terrell Davis. That's nuts. What year was that?
I guess that's 98.
98? Yeah.
Or 99 or 98 because Elway got the one after him. They didn't have the years, though.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that reminds me of, I think it was last year. I placed a bet on Clyde Edwards-Helaire to be Super Bowl MVP.
You said his name wrong.
I'm sorry, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, as Steve Levy would say. It was something similar, like $10 to win $3,000 or something the round before the Super Bowl. And, he just never had a shot. But I'm hoping, hey, I would love for Cam Akers to win Super Bowl MVP because that means the Rams have won and we've all made some money. This is the profile game of the week. I can't wait for Bills at Chiefs. I am undoubtedly sure that I will have hundreds of dollars on this by Sunday night, but I would love to just sit back and relax and watch two of the best in the game go at it. So, Burke, let's do our playoff draft. And then, Larry, we're going to have you make some guest picks here. So get your best bets ready for the week. As a reminder to the listeners, what me and Burke do is we take turns picking a side of the game or a total of the game, and we're going to keep track who wins the most throughout the playoffs. Last week, Burke's up 7-6. Reason being because we pushed on the over of the Bucks game. It landed right on 46. So we split otherwise. So I'm down 6-7, which means I get first pick of the week. My first pick.
Oh, is that how it works? Is that a made-up rule?
Yeah, I just made it up right now.
Like the Raiders-Bengals, is that made up?
No, that one was a real rule. This one is a made-up rule, though, that I just made up right now. Rams +3, baby. Give me the Rams. That sticks you with the Bucks -3.
Okay. I'm taking the Titans -3.5.
Oh, shit. That's where I should have went first. Titans. So that sticks me with the Bengals. All right. So that's a loser for me. You're certainly winning that one. I'm going to stick with that game then, and I'll take the under. I'm going to take under 47 in that game. So that puts you on the over.
I was hoping we were going to bounce somewhere else on that.
I think that's an obvious one.
Both sides,
for the listeners out there, this is a gambling podcast. I think both sides of that game are obvious. It's the Titans in the under. I see no other way to bet that game. Ready to eat crow in a week if that's wrong, but I would make those pretty good predictions right there.
With Larry as our witness.
Yes, Larry can hold us accountable. All right, Burke, what's next?
Pack -6.
He's taking the Packers. All right. Sticks me with the Niners. I'm all right with that. All right, you can give me the over 48 in the Bucks-Rams game. I think that one's high flying.
48.5 right now. I'm taking a look at it right now.
Okay.
As of right now, it's
48.5.
Via FanDuel, it's 48.5.
All right, 48.5. That's fine. All right.
You're on the over for that?
Yeah, I'll still take the over. I think we get in the 50s.
Give me the Bills +1.5.
Okay. So I'm on the Chiefs. Okay. We got two picks that I don't like left. That total in the Bills game is super high, 54.5. Packers-Niners is 46. Is that still 46.5, Burke?
46.5 for the Niners pack and 54.5 for the Bills Chiefs.
Yeah, I hate both of those numbers. They're probably right. I am, because I don't want to be a hater of fun, going to take the over in the Bills Chiefs game, and I will stick you with the decision on the pack.
I'll take the over as well on that.
All right, so I'm on the under there. Okay. All right, so this should be interesting. This should separate us a little bit, hopefully. Last week was pretty close. Our first TV picks didn't go so well. We did nail one on Saturday, but missed every pick that we made on Sunday, so that hurts. Larry, best bet corner. What do you got for me?
Oh, boy. My best bet overall, or?
Yeah, what do you think is going to happen? Give me your best bet or 2 bets or 6 bets, whatever you want. What's going to happen this weekend?
Or give us your worst bet and we'll fade it.
Yeah, that too. Tell me what you don't like. Yeah.
I really like the Titans at 3.5. I think that's going to be just a no-brainer. I think we talked about that kind of a couple times over the course of the day. I really also like the total in the Rams and the Bucks. Just think that's going to be a big high-flying matchup. Not a ton of defensive playmakers. I mean, the Rams are trying to stack up with defensive playmakers, but they look really great against Kyler Murray. They're not going to look that great against Tom Brady. It's going to be a big high-flying matchup. Maybe 230s up there.
Yeah, and I agree. We saw that one fly over the total earlier this season, and maybe that line has decreased a little bit because of how bad Kyler played, and just because of how well the Bucs defense played as well. But those are against 2 inferior teams, and I think this maybe goes over that total as well. So Larry's best bets of the week: Titans laying the 3 or 3.5, and over 48.5 in the Bucs-Rams game. I tend to agree with both of those. Let's finish today with a little recap of our rules for last week, because if you listened to them, you probably made some money. And I'll add a 4th one to this as well. But last week, our 3 rules: do not bet on bad quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts, loser. Big Ben, loser. You could throw rookie Mack in there. I don't know that he's a bad quarterback, but he's a rookie, loser. Kyler, inexperienced, loser. They all lost, Burke. We were right.
That's good. That's good for us.
That's great news. Keep doing it this week. I don't know that there are any bad quarterbacks left. Obviously, you have Jimmy G, who's okay, and Rodgers. You have Stafford and Brady, Allen and Mahomes. Tannehill and Burrow probably on the same level. I don't know that there's a bad quarterback this week.
I would say Burrow is probably in the worst position just because it's his first career.
He probably is because he's the most inexperienced.
Tannehill's been through the playoff run before, and they're playing at home. Going on the road is going to be very difficult. I think Burrow's going to get a little taste of reality this week. So he would be the one to probably avoid if you want to consider prop bets. Taking his unders would be a good play.
I like that too, because they'll probably be inflated a little bit. I'll probably go back to the well with the Jamar Chase under. I got smoked on that last week, but I'm probably going to try it again. So, hey, apply this rule: bet against Joe Burrow this week because he's the worst quarterback left. Second rule: home field matters. Home teams were 5-1 straight up and against the spread last week. Everybody except the Cowboys covered. Larry, we're going to see that again. What do you think about the home teams this week? You got Titans, Packers, Bucks, and Chiefs. Over under 2.5 wins.
I think that's going to be over. I think you're going to see 3, if not 4, home teams just winning straight up against the spread.
All right, so we're saying this favorites trend continues. Okay.
I do.
Our third rule: no dogs unless you think they can actually win the game outright. Niners were the only dogs to win. They covered the +3, and they won outright. The Raiders lose and didn't cover. They were the closest to covering, but if they did cover, they probably would have won the game, or they could have at least won the game because it would have went to overtime. Maybe they go for 2 at the end of the game and they win outright. All the other favorites steamrolled. So we were right on that too. If the favorites are going to win, they're going to cover. All the lines are pretty low this week. The biggest one's the Packers, obviously. And Burke, you think they're going to win and cover that. So this holds true again, right?
Yeah, and I think your best bet if you want to play this route is, in my opinion, it's the Bills going on the road with the points.
Sure.
Against the Chiefs. I think they have the best shot. Rams close second, but that game is going to be fantastic too.
Yeah, I think Sunday is going to be a pretty good day of football. And then the fourth rule I want to add for this divisional week: be leery of the wild card results. I mean that in the teams are not as good as they had looked last week. They are also probably not as bad as they had looked last week. And also, the home teams went 5-1 straight up and against the spread last week. That is not going to happen again. I know we only have 4 games this week. I know all the home favorites are tempting. I am saying at least 2 of these road dogs cover, probably 3. That's just my input. I don't know what you guys think about that. Over, under 2 dogs covering. Burke.
Covering. At 2?
2. You could push if you want.
I'm going to push 2.
All right. So Burke's taking the coward's way out. Larry, what say you?
I feel like I'm going over. Honestly, I know that doesn't seem right, and that's against.
I'm going over too.
I know, but like I'm nervous because you just pumped it up so hard on me there, and I'm a risk adverse person, Ken. You know that.
I know that, man. You're on the wrong podcast here. We're all about risks.
Don't go against your gut. It can only happen in 2 games. The Rams and the Bills.
Well, the Rams and the Bills are the most obvious dogs to cover, right?
Right.
We all pretty much agree that the Bengals are not going to cover that game. If they do, it will really surprise us. I'm the only one on the Niners.
Niners aren't either. I'm sorry.
I think the last 3 dogs cover those games. I think the Niners cover the 6, the Rams cover the 3, and the Bills win outright at +1.5. The Titans win by double digits, I think. That's my take on it. Parting words tonight. Larry, you know how many points Joel Embiid has?
At the moment, I do not.
47.
Holy moly.
Dude's putting up a game. They're up 23. How's the city feeling about the Sixers this year?
Big black cloud over the head with Ben Simmons, and it's totally pessimistic. It's crazy because they're 3 games, I think, out of first place right now.
Oh, they're up there, yeah.
And the mindset is just the Ben Simmons thing. And you'd think if the roles were reversed and Ben Simmons was playing for 3 games out, we're like, oh, cool, we're coming into our own now and it's going to be fine. And now it's like, ooh, so
well, and
what we have.
The Philly market, for some reason, really hates Ben Simmons, right? And I know I say for some reason, obviously I know the reason because he choked away the playoffs.
Sure did.
But he's a fantastic basketball player. Isn't the best move for the team that he comes back and plays? Would that even be an option for the fans? Like if he walked into Wells Fargo Center and played a game, how many games does that take of success for him to get back in the good graces, if ever?
It's impossible at this point. It's irreconcilable differences at this point. And to be frank, I don't agree that he's a phenomenal basketball player.
And we have discussions about this all the time.
Adequate.
I know.
And I mean, he's a better Robert Ory without the three-point shooting.
I am incredibly high
he's
on
a role
Ben
player.
Simmons.
If he was a good basketball player, he would have been traded already, but nobody wants him.
Well, I don't think that has anything to do with him being a good basketball player. I think that has everything to do with what have you done for me lately? And the fact that 29 owners saw that he choked away 1 or 2 playoff games versus 7 years of elite all-star success. And I think Morey is playing a different game than all the other GMs, where a couple other GMs maybe trade him for, 50 cents on the dollar. Morey's not going to let him go without a star, right? Like what does the city want? Would they take De'Aaron Fox, you think, Larry?
I think at this point, yeah. I think you need somebody to run point. I think that the offers that have been coming out, or at least have been publicized, though, have been super underwhelming. We talked yesterday.
Jeremy Grant, Sadiq Bey,
and you need a star.
Yeah.
Jeremy Grant was our G League player, or whatever they're calling the league now, 4 years ago, and it's just such a sham. But there would have to be star power in return, and so I think De'Aaron Fox would probably hit the mark. I think any Blazers guard would hit the mark.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, Fox is kind of the low bar of that, right? I would say. And if you can get Halliburton in that deal, you do it in a heartbeat, because Halliburton is probably the best player on that Kings team. He would fit in phenomenally in Philadelphia. Dame is not out of the question. I think if you want to talk about stocks plummeting, his this year went down. And I know he's hurt, but he didn't play well at the beginning of the year. And to me, he's not that much better than Kyrie Irving, honestly. Like, they're pretty much the same player. Kyrie is a deal that I would do in a heartbeat as well. I know that both of them have significant baggage, but I think that baggage kind of resets in a new city. Durant would never let that happen, so it's kind of a non-starter. Mm-hmm. How about we look to his running mate, James Harden? Can we get a deal done for James Harden? Can you give up Ben Simmons plus Tobias Harris and you get James Harden and some other salary fillers from a third team?
It's the annual Sixers trying to get James Harden into Philly trip. We tried it last year, didn't work out. I've come around now, and I would be more than happy to take James Harden in. I just don't think that the Brooklyn Nets do that deal. I think there's too much going on.
I don't think so either. And if I'm the Nets, I don't give up Harden for anything. But
Correct.
if you're going to give up Harden, Simmons and Tobias is a pretty good return. It's not a 1-for-1 because Harden's a top, whatever you want to say, 5 player in the league.
Yeah.
But it's pretty good return. I'm still curious why that Simmons for Harden deal didn't get done 12 months ago when it was the initial offer. I think the Sixers win a title last year if they have James Harden on that team.
I agree. Yeah. That's definitely the difference.
Is James Harden a top 5 player in the league right now?
I would probably say 6 or 7. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I thought. Not top 5.
I mean, maybe. I mean, who are the guys you're going to take over him? So I think you have a clear top 4. You have Giannis, Durant, Curry, and Jokic.
Yep.
And then after that, I think it's kind of up for debate. I think you could put him 5.
Joel 5.
Joel 5.
Sure. Joel or James.
Ja 6 right now.
Ja
that's a little ambitious too.
Yeah. I love Ja Morant. I love him. But as far as a draft, like Luka is in that mix with Harden and Embiid. Whoever else. Kyrie is probably closer to that debate than we want to argue.
When Kyrie plays, he's better than Harden, in my opinion.
I don't know about that. I still would take Harden over him. When they play together, if those three are playing together, this season is a wash and they're going to win the title. But they just haven't been able to stay on the court. And that's why I think it wouldn't be totally crazy if they brought Ben Simmons in there, who gives them a great wing defender. In my opinion, should have won Defensive Player of the Year last year. And you get rid of that Kyrie baggage, right? But I don't think it's ever going to happen. So what's the beat on the Sixers this year? Are they going to be all right with an Eagles-like first-round loss, or what are we thinking?
I think that's what we're coming to expect at this point, because you look at the Eastern Conference, it's just going to be really tough to be competitive once you get into the later rounds of the playoffs. The Nets are going to figure it out, and I feel like something's going to eventually happen where Kyrie ends up playing more. Who the heck knows where that legislation is going? You still have the Bucks. You still have a lot of the heavy hitters, and you have a lot of underperforming teams right now that are going to flip the script where we're at. With the Sixers right now. Like the Sixers, I feel like are overperforming right now. And I feel like we still have the presence of like New York and Atlanta to still come up with. Chicago looks great. Miami looks okay. I know you love Miami.
Can't get enough of that.
Cleveland, the surprise of the century.
So the Sixers 22-1 to win the title right now. You interested?
Chance. No chance.
You'd
have to give me you'd have to give me triple digits to 1, honestly.
I agree.
There's nobody.
It seems a little low at 22-1. Yeah. So the Nets are plus 260. The Warriors are plus 460. Bucks 7-1. Suns 8-1. Jazz 12-1. Lakers 13-1. Why are the Bucks 7-1? Why aren't we betting them again?
I was just about to make that statement. They're a good team.
I think the Bucks at 7-1 are a good value pick right now.
Yeah, especially if the Nets don't play all three guys.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not the Nets, then who? The Bucks, right?
The Bucks are coming out of the East. Yeah, and it's.
Yeah, I think so. The MVP award is totally up for grabs right now, by the way. You have Curry at plus 165, which is astounding to me. He really hasn't had an MVP season by any means. Giannis is plus 350. Jokic 6-1. Embiid 8-1. John Morant 15-1. Durant 16-1. I don't know. It's kind of up in the air at this point. So we'll talk more players' futures once the playoffs are over. It gives us something to look forward to. Good timing for us. We're going to have a great NFL weekend. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. We're giving away free picks literally every night. As we speak, I'm 3-0 on my NBA picks tonight, so please start tailing those. Burke's going to give out some college winners this week. I can feel it. He's got some good picks coming. When we get to the madness, what are we going to do? Like a bracket or something? We got to give him something, right?
Yeah, we'll have to do a full analysis of all the regions prior to the first round of games, in my opinion. It's my favorite time of the year. We should definitely do some sort of pick 'em like per round or something like that. Track who does better. That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And it'll be a fun time of year. Well, Larry, it was good having you on. We appreciate the Philly insight. We'll see how your pick's doing if you're allowed on the podcast ever again. If you get them wrong, like Smirts, you are banned from this podcast.
You only need one to take the lead.
You only got to hit one.
Not a big bar to hurdle.
Let's go.
But we are looking forward to a weekend of divisional football. Relax and enjoy it. Follow us on Twitter so we can give you out some winner picks. And until next time, let's go make some money.